The Galactic Council chamber was designed to intimidate. Spanning 3 kilometers in diameter, its walls curved upward into a dome that displayed the swirling cosmos itself. 12,000 species had stood in its center over the past million years, and every single one had learned the same lesson: the Council's word was absolute. Today, it was humanity's turn to learn. Ambassador Sarah Chen stepped onto the central platform, her footsteps echoing across the cavernous space. Above her, arranged in concentric circles that rose toward the ceiling, sat representatives from the 847 species that comprised the Galactic Council. Some had tentacles, others had crystalline bodies that refracted light in impossible ways. A few were simply clouds of sentient gas contained in force fields. All of them were looking down at her. Literally and figuratively. "Human," boomed the voice of High Counselor Vexthor, a massive creature that resembled a cross between a mantis and a dragon. "You stand accused of violating the settlement accords. Your colony on Kepler 442b was established in Zone 7 territory, claimed by the Zalthar Dominion 15,000 years before your species even discovered fire." Sarah adjusted her briefcase and smiled. "Good morning to you too, High Counselor." Section 1, The Accusation, 1 to 330. A ripple of shock ran through the chamber. Several species began chittering, clicking, or emitting lights in patterns that Sarah's translator rendered as outraged disbelief. "You dare show disrespect," another counselor began. "I dare show humanity," Sarah interrupted, still smiling. "Now, shall we discuss the actual facts, or would you prefer to continue the theatrical intimidation? Because I've got about 15 minutes before I need to use your restroom, and I'd really like to resolve this before then." High Counselor Vexthor's eyes, all 7 of them, narrowed. "You are accused of colonizing protected territory. The penalty is standard: immediate evacuation and destruction of all human structures. You have 72 hours to comply, or the Zalthar Dominion's fleet will render the colony uninhabitable." "By uninhabitable, you mean they'll crack the planet like an egg," Sarah said. "Let's not hide behind euphemisms. They're going to kill 3 million humans, including 400,000 children." "The law is clear," Vexthor replied. "Ancient territorial claims supersede all new settlements. This is known to every species." "Is it?" Sarah set her briefcase on the podium and opened it with a click that seemed far too loud in the massive chamber. "Because according to my research, and I've been doing a lot of research for the past 6 months, there's something peculiar about these ancient territorial claims." She pulled out a holographic projector and activated it. A 3-dimensional map of the galaxy bloomed into existence, floating 30 meters wide in the center of the chamber. The Zalthar Dominion claims they surveyed Kepler 442b 15,000 years ago. But here's the thing about humans: we're really, really good at keeping records. Obsessively good. Some might say pathologically good. Sarah tapped the projector, and thousands of star systems lit up in red across the map. "These are all the systems the Zalthar have claimed in the past 10,000 years. And do you know what I found when I cross-referenced them with actual survey data?" She paused for effect. 83% of these ancient claims were made after other species found valuable resources there. Section 2, The Revelation, 3:30 to 6 o'clock. The chamber erupted. Species began shouting in hundreds of languages, their translators creating a cacophony of outrage, denial, and, Sarah noted with satisfaction, concern. Silence. Vexthor's roar shook the platform beneath Sarah's feet. "These are serious allegations, human. Do you have proof?" "Oh, Counselor, you have no idea how much proof I have." Sarah tapped the projector again, and the display shifted to show dense columns of data. The Zalthar Ancient Survey of Kepler 442b. Filed 8 months after humanity announced plans to send a colony ship. The archaeological evidence of their ancient presence. Dating inconsistencies that a human first-year student would catch. She looked up at the Zalthar representative, a being that looked like an oily shadow with too many teeth. You're running an extortion racket. Wait for someone else to find something valuable, then suddenly discover you had an ancient claim. The target species either abandons their investment or pays you massive compensation. How many species have you done this to? 40. 50. The Zalther representative rose, its form expanding with rage. How dare you accuse the Dominion of? 17, Sarah continued calmly. I found 17 other cases in just the past century. Should I name them? Because I've contacted every single one of those species, and they're very interested in a class action lawsuit. The chamber fell silent. Vexthor leaned forward. Even if what you say is true, the council has already made its ruling. The law. Let me tell you about human law, Sarah interrupted. We have this concept called precedent. Once a judgment is made, it affects all future similar cases. So if you enforce this fraudulent claim against us, you're setting a precedent that ancient territorial claims, no matter how suspicious, are absolute. She gestured at the star map, still floating in the air. There are 847 species in this council. How many of you have colonies that might be threatened by suddenly discovered ancient claims? How many of you want to wake up tomorrow and find out that your most valuable worlds are suddenly contested? Sarah could see the calculation happening across thousands of alien faces. Self-interest was universal. Section 3, the counteroffer, 6 to 9 o'clock. But, Sarah continued, her voice softening, I'm not here to burn down the council. I'm here to solve a problem. So let me tell you what humanity is offering. She pulled out another device from her briefcase. We're willing to share Kepler 442b's resources. The planet is rich in element 115, which I understand is desperately needed for quantum computing matrices. We'll provide the Zalther Dominion with a 20% stake in all mining operations, indexed to market rates for the next century. The Zalther representative hissed. 20%. The entire planet is ours by right. By fraudulent claim, Sarah corrected. And if you push this, I'll make sure every species in this chamber knows exactly how your extortion scheme works. How much do you think those 17 other species will demand in restitution? She smiled pleasantly. Or, you take 20% of something instead of 100% of nothing. Your choice. The council will not be, Vexthor began. There's one more thing, Sarah said, her voice suddenly hard. A little something humans call insurance. She tapped her briefcase, and every display in the chamber flickered. Warning signals blared. Council members jumped to their feet, or equivalent appendages. What have you done? Vexthor demanded. I've just transmitted a data package to the home worlds of all 847 council species. It contains every shred of evidence about the Zalther's fraud, along with detailed analyses of 34 other suspicious ancient claims filed by various species over the past millennium. Sarah's smile vanished. And I've also transmitted humanity's military disposition. Because here's what you don't understand about us, we're not like the other species you've bullied. We didn't evolve in a nice, safe ecological niche. We evolved in competition with megafauna that could crush us, predators that could tear us apart, and diseases that killed half our populations. She walked forward, her voice rising. We learned to use tools not because we were smart, but because we were desperate. We mastered fire because we were terrified of the dark. We invented agriculture because we were starving. We built cities because we were weak alone. And we created weapons, oh, such terrible weapons, because everything on our world wanted to kill us. The chamber was dead silent now. So when you threaten to render our colony uninhabitable, let me tell you what happens next. We don't evacuate. We don't surrender. We calculate exactly how much damage we can do before you destroy us, and then we do all of it. Section 4, the ultimatum, 9 to 12 o'clock. Sarah tapped her briefcase again, and the star map changed. It now showed humanity's actual military assets, ships, stations, weapons platforms. It was far more extensive than any council member had believed possible. We've been in space for less than 2 centuries, and we've already built the 5th largest military fleet in the galaxy. Why? Because we're paranoid. Because we remember what it was like to be prey. Because we know that the universe doesn't care about fairness. She pointed at the Zaltha representative. You have 3,000 warships in your fleet. Impressive. We have 1,200. Not enough to defeat you, but more than enough to make you regret starting a war. How many of those warships are you willing to lose? How many of your worlds are you willing to see burned before you finally crush our colony? The Zaltha representative's form rippled with barely contained rage. And here's the thing that really scares you, Sarah continued, walking in a slow circle. Humans have a saying, if you want peace, prepare for war. But we have another saying too, mutually assured destruction. She stopped and looked directly at Vexthor. We've calculated the exchange rate. For every human colony you destroy, we'll destroy 5 of yours. Not just Zaltha colonies, council colonies. Because you're all complicit in this extortion scheme. You're threatening the entire council. Vexthor's voice was a mixture of disbelief and fury. I'm explaining consequences, Sarah corrected. You see, most species join the council and accept its protection. But humans? We've been on this platform for 5 minutes, and we've already realized the council isn't about justice, it's about maintaining power for the established species. She gestured at the assembled aliens. How many of you were already here when you joined? How many had to fight for your seats? And how many species have been rendered uninhabitable when they challenged the status quo? Uncomfortable silence. That's what I thought, Sarah said. So here's humanity's counteroffer, and it's non-negotiable, we keep our colony. The Zaltha get their 20% stake. And the council establishes a new tribunal to investigate all ancient territorial claims filed in the past 1,000 years. Impossible, shrieked the counselor from the upper tiers. That would undermine your extortion schemes. Yes, it would. Sarah's voice was ice. But it would also establish actual rule of law instead of rule of force. Isn't that what the council claims to stand for?